For a few years after leaving the band, Syd tried to continue. He recorded 2 solo albums in 1970, The Madcap Laughs and Barrett. They were strange, fragmented, beautiful records. The recording sessions were chaotic. He would forget lyrics mid-take. He would walk out of the studio. Gilmour and Waters helped produce both albums, trying to capture something coherent from a man who was slipping further away every day. The albums sold modestly, critics were divided, and after that, Syd simply stopped. He moved back to Cambridge to live with his mother. He sold his guitars. He stopped writing music. He stopped seeing friends from the music industry. When journalists tried to find him, he refused interviews. When fans appeared at his door, his mother turned them away. The bright young man who had been on the cover of magazines just a few years earlier was now spending his days in his childhood bedroom, painting, gardening, watching television. His former bandmates heard rumors. They heard he had gained weight. They heard he had shaved his head. They heard he was unwell, but they had not seen him. And by 1974, the band that Syd Barrett had founded was the biggest rock band in the world. The Dark Side of the Moon had sold tens of millions of copies. Pink Floyd were playing stadiums. They were millionaires. And the man who had given them their name, their first songs, their first identity, was alone in a small room in Cambridge, painting pictures nobody would ever see. That contrast, that unbearable contrast, was about to become a song. In late 1974, Pink Floyd began work on a new album. The pressure was enormous. The Dark Side of the Moon had been the most successful record of their career, and one of the most successful records in history. Following it seemed impossible. The band was exhausted. They were rich, but unhappy. They felt disconnected from each other. They felt disconnected from the music industry around them. They felt, in Roger Waters' words, absent. And there was one absence that hurt more than any other. Roger Waters had been Syd Barrett's closest friend. They had gone to school together in Cambridge. They had moved to London together. They had built Pink Floyd together. And Roger had watched, helplessly, as his friend disappeared into a place no one could follow. In an interview years later, Waters described it like this. He said that watching what happened to Syd was the single most powerful experience of his life. That everything he wrote in some way came from that wound. In the studio, Waters began writing lyrics about absence, about people who were physically there but emotionally gone, about the music industry that ate young artists alive and spit them out, about wishing someone could still be reached. The album would be called Wish You Were Here. Every song on it, in different ways, was about Syd. Look at the cover. 2 businessmen shaking hands. One of them is on fire. The other doesn't seem to notice. It is an image about people who burn quietly in plain sight while the world keeps going. The centerpiece of the album was a 26-minute composition called Shine on You Crazy Diamond. 9 parts split across 2 sides of the vinyl, opening and closing the record like 2 arms wrapping around the listener. The opening lyrics, when David Gilmour finally sings them, are devastating in their directness. Remember when you were young, you shone like the sun. Past tense, already morning. The song does not pretend Syd is still there. It accepts that he is gone. Waters has said that he cried writing those lyrics, that David Gilmour cried recording the vocal, that when they played the song back for the first time, no one in the studio could speak. It was, in every meaningful way, a funeral for someone who was still alive. And then, on June 5th, 1975, while they were mixing the song, the funeral was interrupted. Pink Floyd were in Studio 3 at Abbey Road. They were working on the final mix of Shine on You Crazy Diamond, the parts that would close the album. The band was there. So was their producer. So was Storm Thorgerson, the designer working on the album cover. There were perhaps a dozen people in the room. The door opened. A man walked in. He was heavily overweight. He was completely bald. Head, eyebrows, all of it. He was wearing a white shirt and trousers. He was carrying a plastic shopping bag, which he set down quietly in the corner. He sat down on a chair near the back of the control room. He didn't say anything. He just watched. For several minutes, nobody acknowledged him. The band continued working. They assumed he was a friend of someone else in the room, a guest of the producer perhaps, or someone Storm had invited. He didn't seem to need anything. He just sat there. Richard Wright was the first to notice. He looked across the room at this stranger, and something pulled at him. Something familiar. He looked again. He looked at the eyes.